Thanks so much for coming back to the table. We are talking about teaching abroad and the lessons learned along the way. Shalonda taught English to high school students in Japan for 4 years, several years ago. And joining the conversation now is Kendall Robinson. She recently taught English to children in a country where she didn't even speak the language. And what an interesting experience that was. Where did you go and which 2 words did you know?
I went to Spain and all I knew was hola and adios. That's what I took with me.
Really?
So, yes.
Okay, so what makes you go, and really this is the question for both of you, what makes you go to a country where you don't speak the language at all?
You know, I feel like if you have tapped into language learning, everyone always says the best way to be to learn a new language is to be fully immersed. And I always heard that, and so I was super interested to see how my brain would interpret the immersion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned so much in such a short time period. And I also took Spanish classes as well too, because I really wanted to be able to communicate with my coworkers, because like it was said previously, you're speaking English like in the classroom, but once you get to the teacher's lounge, once you have to navigate and maneuver through your city, it's only like the language that is native to the region. So
how did you end up in Spain?
Yes, so I didn't get the chance to study abroad. I graduated from Howard University in May of 2022, and due to the pandemic, it just wasn't an option for me, and it's something that I had always wanted to do. And so I was scrolling on social media, as people my age do, and I saw that you could teach English and live virtually anywhere in the world. And so I knew Spain would be enough to put me out of my comfort zone, because I had visited Europe before, not Spain specifically, but I had been on the continent before. And so, and Spanish is a useful language as well too. So I just tapped in and I jumped and I said, let's dive in and go to Spain.
Let's do this.
Yes.
Hola, I'm your teacher.
Hola.
Right, here I am.
Exactly.
For both of you, I think, and you touched on this, but I want to hear what it was like for you, because Spain is a little different, right? It's not like you were the only black woman in Spain, but there were experiences, right? Where there were encounters. What are you? Where are you from? Who are you, right? Tell me about that and how you navigate that.
I definitely wasn't I wasn't the first black person that people had seen. I was the only black teacher in my school, but I think there were 2 other black students in my school, and one of them was named Kendall too, so it was super cute. But yeah, I felt like my school, just in general with the students, they just emphasized that, you know, we're all equal here, like we are promoting equality within the school, so I never felt discriminated against. I felt super welcomed when I went to the school, so that definitely made my transition to living abroad a lot easier.
Yeah. So for your experience was in the early 2000s. This was just a couple of years ago. So almost 20 years, almost. What was your first day like when you walk into that classroom? What do you say?
Hello.
Right.
My name is Shalonda.
Yes.
It's indescribable. You know, it's just so different. And they're watching you. You know, they're so excited that you're there. You know, I felt so welcomed, and I just love the experience. But yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking.
But someone gives you, there's some sort of a curriculum you're following. There's some sort of a lesson plan.
It kind of depends, because, you know, me, I'm like, okay, like I'm coming from a different place. Like I want to do really good at my job. This is my first time like being in a teacher kind of like setting like this full time. And I asked my coordinator, my boss, I said, what are some things that I really want to engage with the kids? What should I do? And she said, just have fun. I said, well, okay, I know how to do that. So
in my mom mind, I'm like, but what about the homework? What about the structure? What about what about that part?
The schools are they're so different from American schools. Like they call the teachers by your first name. That's very family oriented.
By your first name, you said?
Yes, it threw me off, because they were like, hi, Kendall. And I said, where's the missus? I mean, that would never.
Right, we went that far. Right, but that was part of the cultural traditions. Tell me about some of the other cultural traditions that you had to learn and sort of adjust to, bringing your African American experience, your experience as Americans, right? I mean, there were some things where you had to learn how to adjust.
Yeah, I think being an American, I will say dating in Japan was really interesting.
Oh, yes, tell me more.
It was really interesting because the culture was obviously different, and when we would go to dinner, for example, I'd sit down and the server would come walk past me and ask my date, what would she like to have? And
you did not know that was coming?
No. So the first time I'm just, clutching my pearls, like, wait a minute. I know what I would like to try.
But could you order at that point? Did you know how to order in Japanese?
Yes, at that point I did know how, but it just was part of, one was the assumption that probably I didn't speak or couldn't read, but also it just was a little bit different, like there wasn't any holding of doors for me, it's different. So a man would walk through a door and he would let it go.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't. So the first time, it kind of caught me off guard. Like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, I got it.
Kendall, for you, a cultural tradition that you had to adapt to without judgment.
One thing that I loved adapting to was my daily siesta. I took a siesta every day. The nap after work. I love nap time, so that was probably my favorite Spanish tradition that I got to adopt. But other than that, I would say...
And the kids were going home during lunch?
Yes, so the kids don't have lunch at the school.
Yeah.
Around like 2 o'clock, the parents or the grandparents or whatever will come and pick them up, and they'll have lunch in their own homes. So that was really interesting too. But I would say in general, Spain compared to America, the culture is just a lot slower. You'll go to a restaurant and easily be there for about like 3 hours for a meal because the waiter is not pressed to get you to rush and get that table back.
Yeah.
It's very leisurely. So much wine in the culture too.
So much wine.
Yes.
I love your apartment. Right?
Thank you.
Apartment. Tell me about the financial benefits. Shalonda talked about that. What was that like for you?
Yes, so my apartment in Spain was beautiful. I had one roommate and our rent was about 400 euros a month for a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 balconies, washer and dryer in unit.
And what's that look like in American dollars? In US dollars?
Oh my gosh. Easily you'd be paying close to maybe like $2,600, $3,000 for an apartment like that in America. I would say for sure, yeah.
And the benefits were beyond financial, right? There was just the exposure and the life experience.
Yes.
We're going to continue that part of the conversation when we return. Stay with us. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I really want to thank you for season 3 of Portia. It's because of loyal viewers like you that we keep getting to share this daily dose of positivity all across the country. So just a reminder, I still need you to like, comment, and subscribe. And go ahead and tell your friends. You can catch us now in Orlando, in San Francisco, in Atlanta, and all across the country on Fox Soul. Tell your friends. We'll see you soon on Portia.